In this video, we'll cover the Java code for saving a Java object. We'll create a sample application, and these are the features of the application. We'll write code to create a new student, read a student, update a student, and also delete a student. And this is basically a CRUD application. And we'll start off by creating a new student. We'll cover some of the other features in following videos. We'll make use of a student data access object. The data access object is responsible for interfacing with the database. This is a very common design pattern, data access object, or DAO. Here we have our application. It's going to communicate with this data access object, or DAO, and the DAO will talk to our actual database. So again, this is kind of like a helper class for communicating with the database. Our student data access object will have a number of methods. We'll have a save method for saving a student. We'll have some finder methods for finding by ID, find all, and find by last name. We'll also have a method for updating the student. And then we can also delete and then also perform a delete. And we'll implement these methods in upcoming videos. In our scenario, our data access object needs a JPA entity manager. Now, the JPA entity manager is the main component for saving and retrieving entities. So we have our student DAO here. It's going to make use of an entity manager that also has some other supporting components and then communicating with the actual database. Now, as far as the other supporting components, our JPA entity manager needs a data source. So the data source basically defines the database connection information, and the JPA entity manager and the data source are automatically created by Spring Boot based on information from our Maven POM file and also information from our application.properties, such as the URL, user ID, and password. It'll actually connect to the database. And then we can auto wire or inject the JPA entity manager into our student DAO. And I'll show you the coding for that in a second. But just to kind of step back here and kind of look at the architecture diagram here, we have our data access object that's going to make use of an entity manager that'll also make use of a given data source. And we'll actually inject the entity manager into our student DAO. Let's take a small digression for a second. Some of you may have done some pre-reading, or you may have seen some online videos or read some blog posts, and you may have read about JPA repository. And at this point in the course, you may wonder, well, what about JPA repository? Why are we not using it? So just a bit of context here. Spring Data JPA has a JPA repository interface. It provides JPA database access with minimal coding. And here are some of the actual questions that came from other students in the class as this course was out and made available. And here the first person says, hey, why have we not simply used JPA repository instead of using Entity Manager? And the other question here is I've seen a lot of tutorials online on YouTube, and they use JPA repository. What's the difference? What's the context? And so on. And then also, when you hear about JPA repository and we talk about Entity Manager, then you're probably wondering, well, which one do I use? Like, two questions here. What's the difference between the two? And then also here, the person at the bottom is saying, which use case should I use Entity Manager versus JPA repository? Which one runs better? And so on. So I added these slides here. Once the course was released, I kind of went back, saw the questions that came in and said, hey, let's go ahead and put together some additional slides here to kind of discuss and address these questions. So the short answer here is that yes, we will use JPA repository in this course. We'll cover it later in the course. And in this course, I want to show you various techniques for using JPA. And in fact, knowing both Entity Manager and JPA will actually help you on future projects. I've been on previous consulting projects where we had various team members and we had to solve some issues, or some issues came up. And there were some people who only knew how to use JPA repository. They didn't understand all the details behind Entity Manager. So those folks were kind of at a disadvantage. They really couldn't contribute to the team. However, developers who knew both Entity Manager and JPA repository, they could definitely contribute to the team and add value. help us resolve issues and everything else. So I recommend that you learn both of them. And again, don't worry, we'll cover both of these technologies in this course. Now, as far as when to use which, in very simple terms, if you need low-level control and flexibility, use Entity Manager. If you want a high level of abstraction, then make use of JPA repository. Now let's dig into this a bit and talk more about these use cases here. Starting here with Entity Manager. Entity Manager is useful when you need low-level control over the database operations and you want to write custom queries. Entity Manager also provides low-level access to JPA and allows you to work directly with JPA entities. And you can use this for complex queries that require advanced features such as native SQL queries or stored procedure calls. And also, Entity Manager is great when you have custom requirements that are not easily handled by higher level abstractions. Now, the use case for JPA repository is that it provides commonly used CRUD operations out of the box. This reduces the amount of code that you need to write. It also has additional features such as pagination and sorting. It can also generate queries based on Java method names. And you can also create custom queries using the query annotation. My recommendation is that the choice really depends on your application requirements and developer preference. But one thing I'd like to point out is that you can actually use both of these in the same project. You want to leverage the different features of each one. Now, for learning purposes, I recommend that you start by learning Entity Manager first, then learn JPA repository, because basically this will help you learn the low-level coding behind the scenes, and then you can use JPA repository for some of the more additional features there. And again, like I mentioned earlier, knowing both Entity Manager and JPA repository will help you on future projects. Trust me, I've been there. I've seen it happen real time. All right, so hopefully that covers the why JPA repository Entity Manager discussion. And now let's kind of move back into the actual videos here and let's start writing some code for our student DAO.